service. Well, I'll talk a little slower right now and wait.
Ta-da! There's David.
Hey, David Dansky's in the room, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody. All right, I believe that we are live right now. Yeah, I think we are. We're definitely live. And welcome to the 98th meeting of the SoundBroker's presents the Mastermind RoundTable Show. There we go. That's the new line, new hook, new everything. Welcome, everybody.
Just remember, I missed that. What?
What was that? I said we're live, first of all.
Master whose mind?
Yeah, we're live, and basically, welcome to Mastermind RoundTable, where we discuss how current events are affecting our lives and our industry and our personal. Just remember, everything you hear is a opinion, so do your own research. And with that, I will give you the good news is that we are starting to spread everywhere. We have now 260 subscribers on YouTube. Last week, I believe we got 50 people viewing this on Facebook. Not all live, but they did come in and watch, and that's really exciting. I don't know how many people saw it on LinkedIn, but that's where we're going. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and the newest thing is now we're now going to be streaming live on SoundBroker.com. So the company that I use called Restream is now offering a way to embed it on my website. And so that's really exciting. So we are getting more exposure without taking clothes. That's what I like, that's what I really like.
Starting to measure up, are you?
Yeah, thanks. That's cool. See, I like the touch of humor. That's the other thing, that we have humor in this, whereas we're not taking everything as serious as it could be, because there's so much seriousness going on in the world. Just too much seriousness going on in the world. And we need to have some lightness. That was the whole idea when COVID came around and we started the show 98 episodes ago. People were depressed and bummed out. And so I thought I would bring a little joy and happiness and bring people together with like minds to start talking about what's going on and how we could survive the tough times. But it's still tough times for some of us, although most of us are now going back to work. Two of the people that I know that normally come in, Kenny Newman and Bruce Vallis, or three, Fred, they're all working, which is really good. And so plenty of people are working right now, and that's a good sign. So welcome, everybody. That was enough rambling for me for the day. Let's just say, anybody have anything that they want to say before I go into the stories that I think are newsworthy for us? Well, good. There you go. All right. So the first big thing, is that Ed Sheeran won his case. He did not plagiarize The Shape of You. He actually won that lawsuit. And that's pretty cool because he was really serious about it. I noticed that he went to court every day, dressed in a suit, which is really impressive. And, oh, and by the way, before I go any further, we have a visitor, Acio Santos from Brazil is in the room. So we are international once again in scope. Hello, Acio. Anyway, let's see. All right. So Ed Sheeran, as I was saying, let me see here if I can find that. That's it. I had it here. I had it out, but for some reason it disappeared. So anyway, Ed Sheeran won his case. Anybody following that other than me?
Disappeared like your sanity.
All right, the next big thing, NAB is coming to Las Vegas April 23rd to April 27th. Mike, what could you tell us about that?
NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, currently over 600 exhibitors. They've reorganized a little bit. They now have, they're a little bit more focused in terms of, they have these, they're not calling them pavilions, but that's what other shows call them, where you have certain areas that are, focused on a particular subject matter. On the one hand, it's kind of cool for the end users. On the other hand, it's a pain for the exhibitors, because if you take a larger company like a a Panasonic or a Sony or somebody like that plays in a lot of different fields, they now have to make a choice. Do they pick one area and just have their traditional very big booth? Or do they do they have multiple smaller booths, which manufacturers, generally speaking, don't like. If they have the option, they'd rather have the big splashy booth. And of course, there's no package deals. So if you decide you're going to have a greater quantity of smaller booths, you're paying a fair chunk of change. And now, of course, you got to divide your staff up. You're managing 3 or 4 shipments. You're managing 3 or 4 booth building teams. So it becomes a thing. But it looks like the show is going to be quite good. Masks are no longer required. They are not requested, but basically they said if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, feel free to do so. However, proof of vaccination is required, and they have a dedicated app to do that with. And yeah, we're excited about it. Should be a good time.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be the first trade show in a couple of years. It's like a big trade show. So yeah, we'll be there. Electrosonics, C6518, C Hall. I heard it's all just going to be in the C Hall this year.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Oh, it's going to be bigger than that.
Yes, West Hall. Hang on one. If you give me 30 seconds, Jan, fill the air for 30 seconds.
Okay, very easy for me to do that. I also have another question for you in regards to that. How much now floor space is at the Las Vegas Convention Center? Because they just expanded it tremendously. It's now going from the Strip all the way down to Paradise. They took over the Riviera Hotel. They took over that whole land. It's huge now. How much
Yeah,
square face?
the West Hall. I forget how much because before the West Hall, just North, Central, and South is 3.2 million square feet, and then they built the West Hall.
Did that take up that whole parking lot?
Yeah, what used to be the gold lot on the west side of Paradise.
That's
Took
gone.
all of that and then some, because as Jan mentioned, they demolished the Riviera and took some of that. 1.4 million. So 2.3 plus 1.4, 3 point, what did I say? 3.2 plus 1.4. So that's 4.6 million square feet of exhibit space.
And that is a ton of walking, I have to say.
That is, and that's a lot
believe-
of temporary carpet to store.
Yeah.
Put down for all
I
that.
do believe that puts us now back ahead in the race. We're ahead of Orlando and Philly again, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that doesn't count all of the other, like the Sands Expo Center.
Correct. Yeah, that is just that.
Yeah.
Just that section.
For the whatever that is.
That doesn't count all the meeting rooms and smaller rooms.
No, and all these auxiliary hotels that they use as well to have meeting rooms as well. Plus,
Parties and stuff. Yeah. So let's see. NAB. I was wrong. It's more than 900 exhibitors are currently signed up. 160 of them first-time exhibitors. The North Hall will be the create section. So if you are a content creator, that would be where you go. Central Hall apparently is also the create section. So both North and Central will be create. The West Hall will be the connect hall. So all your connectivity stuff will be in the West Hall. And also intelligent content. I don't know what intelligent content is. Not Fox News, clearly.
it could be this show. Maybe I should
It'll
get
just be
there.
this show on loop. In West Hall. So they're using, looks like the show is Central Hall, North Hall, and West Hall.
Have you used the tunnel in the West Hall?
I have not taken the Tesla tunnel yet. I suspect I would be very disappointed and underwhelmed, so I'm not doing it.
So Mike, what was that hotel that that was in the building and then it went bankrupt and it sat there an eyesore over that site right north of that site where the parking lot was for years? Did they ever do anything with that?
Oh,
No.
the Debbie Reynolds?
No, on the north side, that would be Fountain Blue. And Fountain Blue went bankrupt in 09, and then was sold. Carl Icahn bought it for literally pennies on the dollar, $150 million for what at the time was about $1 billion development. He then sold everything inside because they had already finished the first 21 floors. Finished. So TVs, beds, carpeting, everything. Like the first 21 floors could have opened as a hotel. And so he stripped those rooms, sold all of that, mostly to the Tropicana. And that was the Tropicana remodel of 2012 or 2013, something like that. Then it was he sold it for $300 million. So he doubled his money even after selling off all the guts to a company that was going to build a hotel named after the founder's dead son. It's going to be called the Drew. And then they went bankrupt and they sold it back to the original Fontainebleau people. So it will again be the Fontainebleau. It is under construction right now. The mall section that was on Las Vegas Boulevard, that's getting significantly scaled back. And I only knew that because I went to my buddy Trev's scrapyard, and he had 12-foot tall steel girders that were probably 6 inches thick on the flange that he was cutting into chunks, and they came from there. It was major structural pieces. So it's still there, but it is now progressing and looks like it's gonna open late next year.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, if you went to Las Vegas last year and you come back this year, you might not even recognize the city because the growth in the city of construction and hotels and exhibits and restaurants is off the hook. But one thing I will say, if you're going to the convention center and you have an opportunity, the Fire, what's the name of that that standalone restaurant? I just got mental block on it.
Piero's.
What?
Piero's?
No, not Piero's. The place you go for breakfast.
Used to be just south of the Riviera.
Yeah.
Oh, Peppermill.
Oh, I got mental block on it. I can't believe it. Peppermill.
Yeah.
The Peppermill now, that property has got to be worth so much money. And the business that they do, the last time I went there, it used to be you can go there and you can get through, even before, COVID, you'd go there would be maybe a little bit of line. You could sit at the counter with no line. Now that they've done what they've done, the line, you have to figure you're going to wait 45 minutes just to even sit at the counter. It's amazing, but it's, and they own that property right there. And I don't believe they're going to sell it.
I don't see why they would. I mean, they own it free and clear.
Yeah. And
And the food was really good.
Yeah, the food
Peppermill,
is actually, it's great.
and plus they got that room in the back with that really schmaltzy fire and the lounge music.
Cocktail servers,
very romantic.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah. Very romantic. Very romantic.
Iconic,
Peppermill.
I think, is the word. It's an iconic cocktail bar.
Yeah,
Well, and I think, if you look at, let's see, Peppermill, Bootlegger, Golden Steer, right around the corner from Peppermill on Sahara. I mean, you're starting to run out of those iconic Vegas restaurants.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Peppermill back in the probably late 80s or some 90s built the largest hotel or the second largest hotel in Reno and was hugely successful.
It's still there. Peppermill's still there.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, you come to Vegas and you want a piece of old Vegas, the Peppermill is amazing, and also the Golden Steer. But I still think that the waiters are still wearing the suits, the same exact suits, without taking them to the cleaners since, again, this is my opinion, since the days of the Rat Pack.
That would be difficult, I think, given the waitress that waited on us the last time I was there.
Oh, very, very nice. Well, she's probably wearing the same suit.
That suit was cut to fit, and it fit her very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, if you have never been to the Golden Steer, it's a must. It's a once in a lifetime thing. If you only do it once, It's worth it. The food is really, really, really good. It's old and schmaltzy. They make the Caesar salad right at your table with real anchovies, and the waiters have stories from when the Rat Pack used to come in there all the time. And you'll never know who you're going to meet, because a lot of the old-time Las Vegas residents still go there on a regular basis. You can run into the old mayor, maybe, and the new mayor, Carolyn. Carolyn and Oscar eat there frequently, even though they have their own restaurant.
I'd have to. I'm still racking my brain. I think you could probably add Piero's to that list. It's
Yeah.
been around a while, and a lot of interesting stuff has happened there, including Casino was filmed there. That's where all the bar and restaurant scenes were filmed. There's that little dive cafe in the middle of Binion's.
Yeah.
That nobody knows it's there, but it's it
What
has
about the
been-
place on top of Binion's, the steakhouse there? Is that still there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have to look that up, but I haven't thought of that in a long time, and nobody's mentioned it as a dinner option.
Yeah, and I wonder
yeah,
if Pia
those-
Zadora is going to come back to perform at the at Piero's, because she used to perform there on a regular basis.
Yeah, apparently it still is, Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's-
those iconic must-visit kind of places in Vegas are they're starting to get a little
You're losing them.
a little fewer and far and further between.
Yeah, and speaking of that kind of stuff, Genesis played their last 3 gigs of their career last weekend in London, and so they will not be performing. That's the end of the Genesis until they do the reunion tour, the octogenarian tour, or they were probably already octogenarians. So what is it?
Phil is pretty sure, and I would have to say, based on anecdotal evidence about his health, that he's not touring anymore. And for the final concert at Wembley, Peter Gabriel was in the audience, but he never came on stage. So I'm pretty sure he's not whipping up Genesis anytime soon. I mean, maybe at some point, the other band members will find somebody a la Journey, but I don't think they wanted, that just doesn't strike me as their vibe. And why would they? It's not like any of them need the money.
Yeah, I was surprised Morris Leiter didn't go back, and maybe he did, but I didn't see him in the crew of it. And of course, he was their production manager, monitor engineer, everything along the line for so many years, and finally their tour manager. Anyway, Bruce Willis is quitting acting because he's got aphasia. Anybody familiar with what aphasia is?
No.
Not just what I read.
Yeah, basically you can't put sentences together. You can't, and I guess for an actor not to be able to remember their lines or be able to say their lines, that would be the end of their career.
Or even a Wednesday afternoon Zoom chat show host.
Yeah, well, that's very true. Although I've managed to, handle that particular aspect of my life. But fortunately for me now, the Human Genome Project has announced that they finally have completed the first human genome. They did it in 2003, but now they've got it completely together. So with the advancements in technology, they could actually now handle the complete knowing of what our body does and the genome. And it's been published now. The first end-to-end human genome was officially published just on March 31st. That is a scary thought, that now that they have a complete map of what the human body is composed of. And when you think about it along those lines, then you think about, you got to go back to some other things, like, for example, Stephen Hawking predicted the end of the world. Right now, of course, he's dead, so the world is over for him. But basically, one of the things that he was really afraid of was exactly that, where the microtechnology, the nano things that they're building in regards to bioengineering, is that could actually end up, it's one of those things that looks really good, but then if you got robots recreating themselves, where's the end on that? And so, what do you guys think about that? And we'll throw the link about Stephen Hawking.
Skynet is coming.
He's scary.
It is a scary thing, and it's but it's real and it's here. Absolutely here. And speaking of almost here, it's not really here yet. Look at this segue. Did you guys see the last? Did you see the last couple of emails from Michael Strickland?
Yes, sir.
There seems to be right now. So there's an article in Inc. magazine that provides some great coverage of what's going on, and it goes into great detail. But after he sent me that, I got a newsletter, another email, and he says, I have great news. And it looks like the Music Act is going to be included in the Small Business COVID Relief Act of 2022. So now, as he says it, we have 2 bites of the apple available to us. So it's possible that people like us will be able to get some compensation for the lost business that we had for the last couple of years, which would be wonderful. Has anybody looked into that at all?
That new bill is news to me. I don't know much about it. I know the Music Act is something that I would probably qualify for just based on the little bit of skimming I've done. But obviously a small business in general COVID relief fund has a pretty good chance of passing, because I suspect if it's at all, balanced and well written, the Small Business Administration will get behind it. The U.S. Chambers of Commerce will get behind it. All those groups will get behind it and start pushing for that to go through, because everybody knows, whether you're a big business or small business, that you stimulate the economy a lot more if you give a little bit of money to a lot of entities, and then they go spend it. It's when you give a lot of money to just a few entities that not much happens with it, because they try and pocket as much of it as possible. So,
I
Ken.
thought that bill was targeted at restaurants, trying to bring restaurants back.
it is, but the sponsor of the bill, Senator Cardin, and I don't know his state or affiliation, but it's also there's also been a push, as he's created his bipartisan team and found co-sponsors, to include entertainment related industries, health related industries, including gyms, and baseball. For some reason, I don't get that unless they're specifically targeting minor league entities, because they can't give Major League Baseball any aid because they already gave them a monopoly. And busing companies, oddly enough. And I would assume busing companies would probably include, public transit as well as for hire coaches, like we would use in the tour business. So, but apparently it's look like it's happening. It's Small Business COVID Relief Act of 2022, Senate Bill 4008. For those of you.
So there's some hope that we might get some money, that would be great for those people that need it. I know that I could, how could you say no to money? I mean, money is something you could always use.
Well, and for those of you attending Cablo in Nashville on May 11th, that is the final discussion panel of the day is exactly about that. It's called.
I'm sorry, did you say Cavlo? What is that, Cavlo?
It's a Cablo. Everybody here knows what Cablo is. Maybe our friend in Brazil doesn't. But Cablo is my regional trade show happening May 11th in Nashville. The fourth discussion panel of the day, which will be at 3:00, features Mike Strickland, as well as David, the president of USITT, and probably another guest that I can't name yet because she hasn't quite confirmed. And we're going to talk about why doesn't the live event industry get more respect? Car makers pretty much get automatic bailouts, banks get automatic bailouts, airlines get automatic bailouts, but live events, and I'm talking sporting events as well as entertainment events to include theater and concerts, and then also trade shows are live events. When you put those all together, the direct impact on US GDP is somewhere in the 5 to 6%. That's a chunk. And then if you look at indirect impact, So you start talking about the impact that live events have on hotels, on taxis, on transport companies, on busing companies, on catering companies, on companies that print T-shirts and posters and do swag and stuff like that. That's a little harder to define, but rough estimates have it at somewhere between 10 and 12%. 10 and 12% of the US GDP, potentially, with a little bit of research, we could nail that down, is tied to live events. Why do we have to go begging for money? Why do we have to settle for what was left over from this other grant or whatever? That makes no sense. So that's what we're going to be discussing 3:00 in the afternoon at Cavlo in Nashville, May 11th.
Now, are you streaming that?
We are not streaming that as of this moment. We will record it though and play it back at a later date once it's cleaned up.
Very
cleaned
cool.
up, I mean, post edited, not like we're going to edit stuff out, but like clean up the hisses and the pops and all that jazz.
Right. And where is it? What city are you doing it in this time? Is this Dallas?
No, we're in Nashville, although technically we're in Franklin, Tennessee.
That's the home of Ken Porter right there, isn't it? Spectrum Sound, somewhere around there.
Spectrum Sound, founded in 1979 by Mr. Kenneth Porter, who will be on one of our panels, not the one I just discussed, but he will be on another panel joined by the other K that is on your screens at the moment. Are there any other Ks? No, it's just Kelly. Okay, good. Yeah, it's Kelly. Kelly will
What
be
are you
on that
guys going to
panel
be
as well.
talking about?
So Ken and Kelly are joining Rebecca Sullins, who's a super talented design engineer that works for Claire. And she and I used to work together years ago at ABDV Group. We're going to talk about, and I say we because I'll be moderating that panel. We're going to talk about designing conventional AVL systems for unconventional spaces. So for example, when you have to jam a line array in a 200-foot long ballroom with a 12-foot ceiling.
Cool. Very cool.
How do you make that work? Or when you're doing, as Kelly often has to do, wireless mics on naked people.
So let me ask you, so Ken, are you doing your research right now, or is this something that is so embedded in your systems that you just have to wake up in the morning and there you'll be?
I don't know what I'm going to do.
So here's having done a few Cavlos in my time, I have noticed there seem to be 3 types of panelists there, and I could have, any given panel could have all the same type or all 3 types or, 2 types, but not the third, whatever. But generally there's 3 types of panelists. The panelists who 6 weeks out are sending me emails saying, hey, what do I need to do? I need to prepare. Please send me some notes, send me some thoughts. What should I wear? Like that. For this particular panel, that was Rebecca Sullins. She's already clear and she's on her way. And, then there's another person, the type of person on a panel who just natively knows what they're talking about, presents it often, has real world experience doing it. So it just comes very naturally. They don't have to prepare because it's what they do. That is for sure Kelly Fair. It might be Ken Porter.
I have done a few of these before, so
yes, and I only say it might be Ken Porter because I don't know Ken well enough to know if he just natively knows these things and is, it just rolls off the top of his head, right? Then the third type of panelist is the one who just kind of shows up and makes it work and kind of wings it and, just goes with the flow. Ken might be that one too, but we're not sure. We'll find out.
I got a little of that in me too.
Yeah, we'll find out on May 11th. But listen, we're not, obviously it's not, that's the whole idea of a panel discussion, is to discuss things, and there's a lot of free flow. And then of course there's a Q&A period with the audience. So, a good third of the whole thing is just people answering questions, panelists answering questions. So.
Well, let me give you guys, those guys that are going to be in the panel. I read a very interesting article in The Guardian, and it's called The 3-Minute Rule the scientific way to tackle your most hated chores, but this could also be a way for you to figure out how to get involved in that. So we'll throw the link in the chat. But basically, the 3-minute rule basically says that psychologists says that it's the secret to stop procrastinating over tasks you do not like. So that way, basically, the new rule is 3 minutes, not 5 minutes.
I'm trying to figure out your segue here. Are you saying Kavlo is a task that people feel forced to do?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying that if you have to prepare your notes, that's something that most people don't like doing. And so this is a way to get your notes in order in time, and for that matter, anything you want to do. If there's something that you need to do and you've been procrastinating on it, this is the way.
Are you calling us all because we're
accomplished.
panelists? You're calling us procrastinators because we're panelists?
No, did I say that? Let's roll back the
There's
tape.
a little innuendo going on here, Jan.
There's a lot of innuendo going on.
I did not accuse anyone of anything. I just said if you needed some, just remember, everything you hear today is an opinion. Do your own research.
The funnest part is watching you dance there.
Yeah. Well, no, I love you all. I love you all, and I can't jeopardize losing any of you. So yeah, whatever you say, you're the best lover too. I got to tell you,
Yeah, because if you lose any one of us, that's 1/8 of your audience today.
No, that's not 1/8 of my audience. It's 1/8 of the panelists.
Of the panelists. That's right.
But that's okay. I just thought I would bring that up because it was an interesting article. Most think it's the 5-minute rule. It happens to be now scientifically proved that it's only 3 minutes. And if you read the article, you'll know how to do it. But seeing I didn't want to do it, I didn't read the article. I just said, that looks good.
Because you procrastinated on the article on the subject that you're supposed to be up to date on. I don't know what kind of panelist you are now.
Oh, I make a great panelist. That's it. I believe in the wing it. I've always believed in the wing it philosophy.
Shocking revelation.
Just wing it. That's it. I had a friend a long time ago, and he used to say to me, "You got to fake it until you make it." And he was right. And people ask me how I got involved in this business.
No.
How did you get involved in the business? And you know what my answer was? I printed business cards. So there you go. If you're listening to this and you want to get started in something, print business cards, and then you're real.
I thought it was your comedy got you in.
Well,
that's why I'm in the comedy, because I was starving to death. Yeah,
exactly. As a matter of fact, it was the comedy that made him go get a day job.
That and his in-depth knowledge of the subject he's going to speak about.
Exactly correct. And we were talking about the entertainment industry. E-commerce continues to grow, and in 2021 alone, it generated over 768 billion, and it's expected to pass 1.3 trillion by 2025. But unfortunately, we can't really use that in our industry for e-commerce because everything is so hands-on. Or can we figure out a way around that so that we get e-commerce business as well?
You got a couple big e-commerce people that pretty much control the recording sales of equipment and stuff like that nowadays.
Like Sweetwater, is that what you're talking about? Companies like that?
Didn't Sweetwater get bought by a private equity firm just recently?
It's very possible.
Kelly, do you know anything?
I don't know anything about him.
Musicians,
Tina's
friends.
researching it as we speak. I can hear her typing.
Then there's musicians, friends, and then there's that company. I got mental block on that company as well. There's another company that's big, just like Sweetwater. What?
B&H?
B&H is huge. What's another company that services the music industry?
Full Compass.
Full Compass.
There you go. Full Compass.
Yeah, Full Compass is my neighborhood.
Well, somebody said something, but we can't hear him. So I think it was
Josh. It was Josh as he's zooming
As
and
he's
driving at the same time, and he said that Full Compass is in his neighborhood.
Oh, That's really cool. I mean, that they're huge. They built a billion, like $1 billion factory, from my understanding, there, or warehouse space, and they've got a lot of people. Most of the manufacturers now are getting rid of their distribution, self-distribution, and using companies like Sweetwater and Full Compass to do their own distribution. Edmund out of Los Angeles, he's distributing Yamaha and Midas and a few other big companies like that. Lightings, so you go to him instead, and I guess they're putting up the dough to inventory a lot of this stuff.
A lot of times it's on consignment or it's on a pretty minimal deposit, but yeah, it still adds up. Think of a company like Starin, which primarily plays in the installation world, but they have at any given time 30 to 40 brands. And for the longest time, they were the Music Tribe distributor. And they might, at any given time, literally, you'd look and they would have, 2,000, 3,000 Midas consoles in stock of all the different flavors. I mean, that alone right there is millions of dollars. And then you add up all the other Music Tribe stuff and then all the other brands. And at any given time, a distributor like that is they're playing in the healthy 8 or 9 figure world. It takes a lot of leverage to do that.
Well, Staring too, the one I like is their computer program. When you're ordering, you can check and see if something's in stock. If you order it, it can give you an idea when it's going to be there.
Starin does have one of the best web portals. It's not super flashy, but it has all the information you need. You can go find things and immediately it'll tell you how many are in stock. Once you order it, it'll tell, it'll give you a ship date. You can keep checking in. The moment it gets scanned by UPS, is picked up, boom, your tracking number shows up. You get an email. It's really quite good.
Yeah. Also, DBL, I believe that's another big distributing company as well. So the things are changing in the industry. I mean, for sure, we see it happening, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it is what it is, and it is continuing. I don't see it slowing down. I don't see it going backwards.
But it's also cyclical. It'll change at some point. But the idea right now for a lot of manufacturers is they don't want to hold paper. And then also because of tariffs right now, that's where a company like a Starin, or now the company that took over from Starin for distributing Music Tribe, AVL, they have Canadian roots. And because of the current tariffs, if your product is made in China, it is cheaper for you to ship it to a Canadian distributor who then trucks it over the US border, because even the Canadian import tariff and the US import tariff from Canada added together are less than the Chinese import tariff into the US.
Now, I was under the impression, so you actually, I think you might have taught me something right now, if this is true, but when we do export, we have to say where this was manufactured. So if it was manufactured, that's what I was under the understanding that they charged the export duties on, or the import duties, of not where it's coming from, but where it was manufactured.
I would consult with a broker.
We do.
To make sure, but as I understand it from both people who used to work at Starin and people who used to work at AVL and people who used to work at Music Tribe, that's the reason they come in through Canada.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing too, is when we're doing individual items, it's individual items, but what they're doing is they're bringing in truckloads.
Container loads. Yes.
Yeah, container loads. Yeah, container loads. And that might be a difference. That might be difference as well. But, I don't know. And that would be something that maybe somebody in the room could do some research. And next week when we talk about it, they'll bring that up and say, hey, this is what I found out this week. So, whoever wants to do that.
Hey, look at that. Tina posted, Providence Equity Partners bought into Sweetwater. I didn't know they owned Tate Towers. Huh.
Interesting. See, you learn something here every week. If you only go away with one thing, it's more than you had when you came in, and that's a good thing, you know? Anyway, and this is our 98th meeting. 98, unbelievable. Just 2 more and we'll be at 100. And I hope that everybody who's ever participated, you know, like a reunion show, the 100th reunion show, where everybody who's ever participated comes into the room and participates. That would be a wonderful thing. I'm going to do my bit to market that, as I am right now, and offline as well. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about. Soon we're talking about, you know, electronic and online, ordering and stuff, and Amazon. I don't know if you read it, in New York, their first bout in Staten Island, that Amazon hub got unionized. And it was kind of interesting. They fired this guy, I don't know why, he was complaining about COVID, and they labeled him not smart or articulate. You know, so that's what they said. I'll read it exactly. He was fired 2 years ago from Amazon Staten Island warehouse, labeled not smart or articulate by a company executive. Now, Christian Smalls is the organizer who successfully created the first union inside one of America's most powerful companies. And then the Amazon labor easy for me to say, the Amazon labor organizer campaign and thanked Jeff Bezos for going to space. And his words were, when he was up there, we was signing up people. I'm reading that correct. So I guess the executive was right that he wasn't very articulate on how he was speaking, but it just goes to show that you don't have to be articulate and you don't have to be smart to be successful if you believe in something enough. Anybody have any comments on that? Anybody have anything that they want to say?
There's a little more nuance to it than that. So the guy who created this union, which is a brand new union, this is its first ever local. It is not a branch of any other union. It's not affiliated with any other union. He just created a union. He and a bunch of other protesters did a walkout at Amazon, at their Amazon distribution center during the early days of COVID, protesting the work conditions and concerns about their health. And, you know, I think they were given masks, but that was it. There was no distancing, you know, there was no mass sanitizing happening. And of course, in the early days of COVID, nobody knew for sure a lot of the things that we know now. So they led this protest. Basically, he organized it. He was then fired for not following COVID safety protocols by organizing a protest. And then, as he started this unionizing effort, that one local executive, as part of their response, sent an email saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, you know, label this guy as inarticulate and, you know, poorly spoken and blah, that. So that was never the official reason for his firing, but that was part of Amazon's PR spin against him. But unfortunately, that email was made public. So it certainly didn't help the folks at Amazon. And yeah, this is the first ever unionized Amazon facility. It is a brand new union that is just for Amazon. And this guy was fired. This is now his full-time job, is organizing this union. So I suspect he'll be visiting other other Amazon facilities very, very soon.
I heard he was going for Queens next. The Amazon facility in Queens.
Yeah, you know, we're right down the road, relatively speaking. And
did the Starbucks people start a new union too?
I've read 2 stories about 2 separate locations. One voted for, one voted against. The one that voted for has to, Starbucks is appealing because of some sort of impropriety with the scheduling of the vote.
It was in Colorado or something.
I think, yeah, because they felt it skewed the outcome to a yes.
By the way, Amazon is doing the same thing. In the article, it says that Amazon is appealing as well for some sort of ruling. I don't know exactly why, but that's what they're doing. So,
by the way, Jan, you've been frozen for about 4 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, can you hear me though?
Oh yeah, we can hear you
I thought
fine.
you just practicing your ventriloquism.
Oh, well, there you go. So let me see what I could do about stopping and starting. I don't really know. I don't really know why this happens. This is something. How about now? Is we back?
There you
Yeah, I
go.
think so.
Look at you. In
Yeah,
motion.
I guess I can't explain it, but it's one of those
You know when
things.
it happens. Right.
Yep. I hope it was a good view of myself when I was frozen.
Is there a good view of yourself?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
marginal.
Yeah, and I noticed, as I get older, I'm getting younger because I'm starting to get pimples. I can't understand that. It's like, I guess I'm going through puberty one more time.
Are you shrinking yet?
No, not yet. Not that I know of. I mean, my belly seems to be holding its own, but
I was talking to my dad Sunday night. He's 96, for those of you who don't know.
Wow.
And he just had his suit, the one suit that he's saving for one last wearing. He just had it taken in again from when he first had it made. He has, because there's the tailor's right on the inside of on the pocket in the pant, they write the original measurements were there, and then they date it and they write what they're doing to it. He is 3.5 inches shorter than he was when they made that suit for him 30 years ago.
Wow. That's
yeah.
a lot of shrinking.
What happens is your spine starts to compress, and that happens to everybody. It's just gravity. It's just one of those things with gravity that seems to affect you. But when you're short, how tall is your dad? How tall was he?
He was 5'8" when the suit was made, and now he's just under 5'5", which means I can finally take him.
Yeah, and he could just get under, if he goes to an amusement park, he has to be careful.
Hey,
the height.
You say that, but for his 90th birthday, he went skydiving.
Yeah, that's impressive. I just went to an amusement park. I took Bo to an amusement park in Singapore. We just got back from Singapore. And this was a first trip for her, going to a first world country for the first time, airplane ride, going through customs. I mean, it was just one new thing after another with her. But for her to go to an amusement park and be on a roller coaster, she is never going to be the same.
Did she like it?
She loved it. She absolutely loved it. And the funny thing is, we started with a merry-go-round. She saw that was the first thing you come to when you walk into the Universal in Singapore. And you get on the merry-go-round, and she was like really excited. It was going up and down. Oh wow, this is great. And then the next ride we went to was Battlestar Galactica, and that is a roller coaster where you flip around and you do the corkscrew. And I'm not really big on roller coasters as well, but it was a thrill ride, I have to tell you.
What an amazing experience, though, to go with somebody who's never been, as you said, to a first world country, let alone to a theme park like that. I mean, that was probably a trip.
Oh, everything is new in Singapore. To her, everything was new. Just the ambiance alone of the city, where if you it's a first world country. So if you've never been to a first world country, you don't understand what it's like and how different it is. For example, we live on a dirt road. I mean, and so when you go to Singapore, there are no dirt roads. It is all big highways. Here in Phuket, the biggest road has got like 3 lanes in each direction, and it's only maybe a couple of miles long. There, the roads are like Las Vegas. They're huge, 6-7 lanes long in both directions. Or, for example, she had never been in a tunnel before that was longer than maybe, a 30-second ride. And here we are in a tunnel that goes underneath the marina in Singapore for about 5 minutes. And it's really big. It's like 6 lanes wide, and it's bright, and it's lit up, and it's just so clean and smooth. And she had never seen anything like that before.
That's amazing.
and you could see it she was like a kid, experiencing something for the first time. It was amazing to experience that with another human being. It was just a phenomenal vacation that we had in Singapore. And if you haven't seen our Facebook page, you should go up and check it out, because there's a lot of nice pictures up there.
Do they have Harry Potter there?
No, they didn't have Harry Potter.
Did you stay in the hotel with the schooner on top?
Say that one more time, Ken.
The hotel that looks like a schooner. It's got three towers. And
Okay,
like
that's the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, and we stayed at the W. Now, okay, so think about it like this: if you know the hotel chains, the W is a higher end hotel. That's a boutique hotel. Really, and she'd never stayed in any place like that before either, so it was kind of like everything was just mind-blowing for her. It was an eye-opening experience. And because she's from Thailand, here in Thailand, there's not a lot of English spoken everywhere you go. People do speak English, but it's kind of broken, and you can but in Singapore, it's all English. Everybody speaks English. And it's also a more, I would say about Singapore, is a more international community. There are people from all over the world living there, but they all speak English.
It's a much more cosmopolitan country in general.
Yes, yeah, and there's so many more things to do. So yeah, it was like it opened her eyes to something that she had never seen before, and it was breathtaking to her, and she loved it, every second of it. And we had a phenomenal time. It was like taking like a child for the first time to do something, but she's not a child by any stretch of the imagination. But this kind of experience brought her childlike qualities out to the max. It was phenomenal.
That's what happens when you take your grandkids to Disneyland.
Yes, exactly. You've done it a million times, but they've never done it. I mean, they've never experienced it. And it was just a mind blowing and opening exercise for her, and she loved it. But anyway, where was I going with that? Who knows? I can't remember. I think you were saying my screen was frozen. Anyway, we're at the point of the show. I just want to say Shawn Mendes added 13 dates to his Wonder the World Tour. Miranda Lambert announced that she's doing a residency in Las Vegas at the Zappo Theater. So those are two new shows that we've heard about.
Did you get the email I sent you about the tours? I just drew a blank on the company. The big company that does tours.
Live Nation?
And I sent it to you, and it's got a list of like 20 tours going out right now, or 30.
All right. I did not see that. It probably came in late. So basically, anybody want to talk about what's going on in the touring world?
It's going out, getting busy. Festival season is hit. We got a lot of stuff going on there. So yeah, it's gotten pretty nuts.
Yeah, some of the biggest companies in the world have called me in the last week looking for gear. Companies that you would never have imagined, Claire, Solitech, calling me looking for gear. So they are busy.
Companies you would never imagine would call me looking for gear.
Yes, exactly.
Claire didn't call me, but Solitech didn't call me, but I was chatting with someone from Solitech, and they're like, hey, as long as you got you on your phone, I'm looking for blah, 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 blah. Do you know anybody who's got it?
But the issue is they keep going out trying to steal accounts, even though they don't have the gear to do them, or they get the account and then they have not the pieces and are trying to find specific pieces to cover it. And it's just like, what were you thinking? And I've had one already where they've got the tour and then they switched the PA system on it because, I can't get that. You got to take this.
Yeah. Well, historically speaking, that is a trick that a lot of sound companies have used, whereas they bid one and then all of a sudden, when they get into rehearsals, things get substituted out, and that's how you make more money. You know, I'm sure that's happened with you, where you get in there, they've requested one thing that you bid on, and then they say, oh, well, we want to swap out this for that, and then ka-ching. It's the same like doing a building. When you're a contractor, you bid out the building, and then as soon as there's some changes, that's where you make your money, because you're already in.
Well, and the challenge those companies are going to have and are having is that historically it didn't matter. If you won a bid for a particular tour that included gear you currently didn't own, it was okay because you could go out and get it. If you couldn't buy it, you could probably sub it, or at least sub it long enough until you buy it, or just call the manufacturer and go, hey, put on a double shift for 1 week and get me these boxes so we can go out on tour. But that's just not an option right now. It's just, when you get down to raw material unavailability, then that affects everybody, and that affects all the manufacturers, and they're all jammed now trying to figure out how to, make 1 pound of aluminum go 7 different ways. And it's just not, it's not feasible. There is a study out just now from the International Energy Agency that estimates that by 2030, so mind you, that's basically 8 years away, global demand for rare minerals, including aluminum, is going to increase 7-fold, 7x. So anything that's made out of aluminum, copper, anything that requires lithium or cobalt, silver, nickel, which, by the way, I just described every electric vehicle and major battery in the world, and most audio console frames. Yeah, that 7-fold increase in a raw material cost is somehow going to be passed on. There's no way around it.
Yeah, the stocks that I have that are working in that aspect of life of mining, they all seems to be exploding, every one of them.
Yeah, we should see our knock on wood. We actually need neodymium prices to go up. We don't need them to go up, but if they go up, it's a good thing for Nevada, because there's a neodymium mine right near the El Cajon Pass, for those of you who've ever driven Southern California, Nevada, close to the border there. But it's a very deep mine to get to it, so the price of neodymium has to be fairly high before it's worth actually going to go get it. Ladies and gentlemen, Fred has joined us.
Fred, I'd love to hear from you, but before you do that, I just want to say you have to be very careful. I was offered to buy some shares in a platinum, gold, and silver mine, and of course, but I decided to pass on that just to find out that there is no such thing as a platinum, gold, silver mine. And having said that, as a public service announcement, I will also say that the IRS criminal unit wants you to be aware that there's a lot of tax fraud going on now. So be very, very careful. Only go with reputable sources in regards to anything regarding taxes. And one thing I will tell you, be super careful. If you get a text or you get an email, even if it appears to be something that do not click on that link unless you make sure that it is actually from that company, because people are getting shrewder and shrewder and shrewder. And all they want you to do is click on a link so that they can capture your data and possibly even create ransomware on your computer. So be super careful.
Yeah,
Fred, tell us about what's going on.
I always look at the return address. I get stuff from people all the time that looks super legitimate, but right up by the name, all you got to do is look, and it's not their email. So delete. So anyway, sorry, I was working all day. I just got to my second job with Sons. So I'm just setting up. Just got my iPad out, getting some music going, listening to a little UFO. I don't know if you can hear it in the background.
Hopefully we can. Otherwise, they'll block us out. So don't play any of that.
What's going on with you? I haven't seen you in a few weeks. I have been so slammed. My next day off is June 1st.
Well, that's really wonderful. You see, we were talking about how busy things are out there right now, and so we're very fortunate to be able to. We're very fortunate to have the industry come back the way it is, and everybody seems to be, super busy. The problem is gear and putting it all together. So that's really what's going on in the industry right now.
Absolutely, and learning all the new stuff. I'm doing a lot of cloud shows. A lot of I think. Mike called me this morning and was asking me about doing. One of his clients called him and wanted him to be doing some remote stuff, and it's crazy how they're doing this stuff these days. These cloud control shows, for me, they've been fun so far. They're super easy. It's just a transmission path and 16 channels of audio, and then a return path with 16 channels of audio, and an Arvon hooked into the RTS system. Some of them actually do comms. Some of them, I did one for Chicago a couple weeks ago where they could only access the IFBs. So the Arvon system was actually the IFB interrupts from Chicago. It was kind of weird, but yeah, it's been crazy. So hope you're being busy too. I see you went on a vacation or something. I saw some pictures on Facebook of you and Bo on an airplane.
Yeah, we went to Singapore. You're going to have to watch the YouTube video or the Facebook video to see all that you missed. But we did cover all of that already, and it was a lot of fun. The trip was an amazing trip, and we really did have a lot of fun.
Nice.
Anyway,
I'm lurking.
Yes,
He said he's lurking.
Very, very good. Well, it's a good thing, look, it's a good thing to be a lurker. Just don't get caught. That's all I could say, just don't get caught being lurked. So let's open the panel right now to anybody who hasn't said anything before we say goodbye to the people on social media. Oh, and by the way, did you hear that Elon Musk, two things happened to him this week. One is he bought 10% of Twitter, and second, he got arrested for a rave party in Germany. Did you guys hear that?
I didn't hear about the rave party, but I did hear that he got, as soon as he bought in, he got promoted to some sort of CEO or something.
No, he's on the board. They gave him a seat on the board. But it was interesting. As a condition to getting the seat on the board, he had to agree in writing that he would never own more than 15% of Twitter stock. So they threw a little carrot at him, but on the back end, it has probably more benefits for them than him.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder what it'd be like to have that kind of money. And it's amazing that he's got that kind of money and he was able to get arrested in Germany. So that's pretty impressive as well.
Well, when you're an obnoxious frat boy, there's only so much, arrested is one thing, convicted is another. He's not going to get convicted of anything. But when you're an obnoxious frat boy, a lot of cops just don't care about how much money you have.
Yeah. I mean, what he's doing with his satellites and the communication in Ukraine is pretty impressive, how he's done that. And, his boring company is pretty amazing. Has anybody been inside one of his tunnels that he bored?
Like I said, I have not, and he's technically in violation of his agreement with Clark County. Let me just say that. As a Clark County taxpayer, he was supposed to provide different vehicles, not just Model 3s, but a specially built vehicle that could carry 16 people at a time, because he has to meet certain average number of riders per hour during peak usage, which would be during a large trade show like CES or NAB or Infocom. And he's never met that goal. He's actually about to finish, I believe, one additional tunnel, the one that goes to Resorts World. So there's now a tunnel that goes underneath Las Vegas Boulevard between Resorts World and the Convention Center. But same thing, you get into, I don't know if anybody's ever ridden a Tesla Model 3 when it's on autopilot. That's all you're doing. It goes like 12 miles an hour.
So the reality is in the tunnels that he's building, you can't walk or you can't drive your own car. It's all automatic.
Yeah.
Aha, that's something I did not know.
I saw there was a 360 view of somebody driving the track for the Formula One race. How are they going to get service the people and stuff inside the track inside the loop? Is there tunnels that come up in that area?
There are tunnels underneath the strip, but they're utility tunnels. They're not designed for, commerce or business or random people to be in. I mean, they're big enough to drive a golf cart through, because they hold like a lot of the fiber and the power and the phone lines and stuff like that. But essentially what's going to have to happen, they're going to build, in certain places, they're going to build temporary pedestrian bridges that go over the racetrack. The current pedestrian bridges that exist over the racetrack path, the course, they will be closed, obviously, because sure as shooting somebody would chunk a beer bottle as an F1 car approaches just to see what would happen. So those will be closed. You won't be able to use those. But essentially, if you want to drive in or out of those particular properties, you're going to have to do it before or after the window. And obviously the window isn't just the race, it's qualifying the day before.
Friday.
Yeah, it's 3 days of practicing, free practice and then structured practice. I was really surprised when I saw that it's going to be 2023, because they're going to have to move to make that, to do all the things that they have to do to make it ready.
Well, other places that have done where they didn't elevate it, they put like fencing up to where you can't see or throw anything through the fence.
Well, that's the other thing. Most people think it's just, it's just going to be an inconvenience for a couple of days or 3 or 4 days. In Monaco, for example, it takes 2 weeks to put up all the safety barriers, close those streets, redirect traffic. It's a bit of a zoo and then it takes about another week afterwards to undo it all. We're excited. I'm excited F1's coming here. I doubt I'll be able to afford a ticket. Of course, it'll be another, super duper expensive live event in Vegas, but I'm still happy for the city. It'll bring a lot of business. I love F1. I'll be up early or staying up late, whichever it is this weekend.
You're staying up late
for the Australian Grand Prix.
Are they going to do it through the streets, or are they doing it out at the racetrack?
Through the streets.
Nice.
Racing on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's actually a pretty boring course.
Online, they show it. Somebody drove the thing online. Like one evening that they showed through the tracks and what's going to be where, then loop around the sphere and then come out. What's that? Right there up from the sphere out to the boulevard, down boulevard, and it Sahara to turn left, and then there's a chicane in the parking lot around.
I wouldn't.
And when are they doing this? When are they doing this?
Thanksgiving weekend next year.
Yeah, because they tried to do it in Arizona in July. What a bunch of idiots. Nobody's going to sit out on the streets of downtown Phoenix at 118-degree weather. Are you freaking kidding me? Sorry for my language, but what idiots.
Yeah, so I've got the race course up on my screen here. Let me share that. Let me see if I can show you. Can you guys see it?
Not yet. There it goes.
Yeah, so that's the course. The number 1 down there at the lower left, that's basically just off of Harmon and Koval. And currently it's a big empty lot that is primarily used by Caesars whenever there's a convention. That's where like GES Expo or Freeman or any of the trucking companies, that's where they stage from. So by virtue of that currently being a big empty lot, it allows them to build that and create the paddock and create the pits and put up the grandstands without affecting traffic at all. That whole thing can be built because it's all on private property without doing anything to the roads. So they come out of that, there's a little bit of a turn there to the left, but then on number 3, that's a big sweeping right, where they will now go northbound on Koval until they hit Westchester. They'll turn right there, loop all the way around the sphere. So you'll actually see them go around the sphere. Then they go up Sands Avenue, hang the left onto Las Vegas Boulevard. The only really cool thing I think about this track is that double straight. That is a pretty long straight. Technically, it's 2 straights because there's a curve right there in the middle in front of the Mirage.
So it was a mile and a quarter.
yeah, it's not much of a curve. They're going to be flying. They're going to be doing 220 to 230.
Yeah, they're gonna get some speed there.
Yeah. And then it's a hard, well, it's not a hard left, but it's a, you got to slow down dramatically down there by Cosmo. And then it's right back again. And it's 50 laps. The race starts at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. So I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a party.
Well, the logistics of doing that and looking at that map and knowing Las Vegas, that is a real undertaking that they're planning on doing. There's just so much space there that they have to control. How are they going to be able to control all that area? That's pretty impressive.
The F1 safety barriers, and they're required. You don't get to just put up any kind of safety barrier. F1 is very clear about what safety barriers you have to use. And they will probably be trucked here from Miami because Austin is on a track. So those are permanent. So Miami's got their racetrack, their race a little bit before us. We'll probably use the same ones. They're something like 12 or 14 feet tall. It's a steel mesh fence, but it's not like the cyclone fence that you have, around your grandma's backyard. It's a steel mesh that the holes are about yay big. Bottles don't fit through it, cans don't fit through it, and you can't even get to that anyway. Behind the safety barrier is another safety zone that's usually 3 or 4 meters deep that no fans are allowed. That's where the marshals are, that's where the fire trucks are. So it's going to be interesting. I want to see how they build this because the challenge is I'm assuming they're going to use one side of Las Vegas Boulevard for grandstands and the other side for the course. And those grandstands take a while to build. So that means there's going to be traffic restrictions on Las Vegas Boulevard, I would have to think, for several weeks before the race.
And North Las Vegas Boulevard, isn't the road split? Isn't there an island in the middle now?
There's an
It's
island.
not 4 full lanes.
There's an island down all of Las Vegas Boulevard now.
Do you guys remember when they had the Grand Prix where the Caesars Forum is?
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
I wasn't there, but I've seen footage of it.
I went to a Can-Am race there. Different days had different races. So I couldn't get into the Formula One because that was like too expensive.
So do you think they're going to hit use the ballards that they put in Las Vegas Boulevard to kind of support the rails that are keep from going off, or the what do you call it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would think they'll put the safety barriers in front of the bollards. And what Ken is talking about, for those of you who haven't been here in a while, we just put up, I say we, the county and the city, put up about 10,000 bollards all along Las Vegas Boulevard, both sides, every 3 feet, to prevent some of those truck attacks that we were seeing, like in Europe, in France, and in Italy, where some psycho would grab a truck and just drive it down a busy sidewalk. And those things, somewhere I have a picture of those things before the concrete gets poured. I defy anyone to hit it with any kind of vehicle and get over it.
Yeah, those things are pretty stout.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna build the grandstands probably against the casino side, right? And you're gonna be looking west, because down for one thing, people are gonna go deaf. I've been to a Formula 3 race. When those cars hit 12, 14,000 RPM, your hearing is subject to degradation.
Yeah, but to your point, there's casinos on both sides.
No, but I thought on the west side, they're set back, like at the Bellagio. You have all that water, you have all that space before you get there. On the east side of the strip, that the casinos are all right there on the sidewalk, I thought.
Yeah, could be. That's a good thought, maybe. And we're about to close. We're about to do the NFL draft, and they're doing it over the Bellagio fountains. They're building a stage over the water, and we're closing. And we're closing Las Vegas Boulevard for 3 days in front of the Bellagio.
Oh my God,
that's going to be impressive.
That sounds like that silly thing they did at the Coliseum in Los Angeles with NASCAR.
Yeah, but ours is going to make more money.
Yeah, the interesting thing is all those hotel rooms along the strip or the race course, they're all going to be the ones facing it. They're probably all going to be very expensive. And the upper suites are probably going to be all corporate bought.
Oh, I doubt there's any left.
Yeah,
that's why I'm wondering if they're going to put any grandstands up, because most of the people will just watch from the hotel. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to set back, I mean, they're going to have to take up one lane of the street. Let's say that they do put them on the east side. Those bollards are they're just 2 feet inside the curb.
No. We redid the streets too. So now they're about 6 inches off the curb.
Okay. So they got to put that fence probably at least in line with that or in front of it. And it's got to have some sort of a support. So you're going to have 6 to 8 feet before the second fence. And then your grandstands are going to have a walkway in front of the grandstands to be able to get into the grandstands. And then the back of the grandstands has to fit before the bushes or the front of the building or whatever. So I don't see those grandstands being very tall.
Well, yeah, particularly because grandstands are for poor people, and we don't like poor people in Vegas. We only like rich people. I will say this though, we struck a sweetheart of a deal. We are paying no licensing fee to have the race.
Is that going to get the sphere built?
I'm sorry?
Is that going to get the sphere built?
Oh, the sphere's fine. The sphere will be built. It's moving right along.
It seems that Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, without a doubt. I mean, where else can you see
the Las Vegas Grand Prix is actually owned by a consortium that is primarily made up of the owners of F1, because they really wanted to come here. So the $25 million a year licensing fee that Austin and Miami have to pay, we don't have to pay that.
Wow.
Speaking of which, how did the Grammys go over in Las Vegas? Was there?
I totally forgot about them actually until I read the paper the next day. Apparently super well attended, no major incidents.
Yeah, nobody got slapped.
No one got shot.
Yeah, the slap that was heard around the world. I know we covered it last week, but man, the repercussions right now is still about to come for him. And
well, except check whatever your streaming service is. Check all your B channels, your TNTs and TBSs, all that. They're showing all the Will Smith movies. I don't care what Will Smith movie it was. They're showing it. You want to see Gemini Man? It's on. You want to see what's the conspiracy theory? That one's on. They're all on. What's the one in New York where he's the doctor? And there was a pandemic.
I was flying from Singapore. I was flying back to and from Singapore on Singapore Air, and they had King Richard, and I actually watched it. The flight wasn't long enough to see both sides, so I saw half of it going and half of it coming, or vice versa.
I'm telling you, for the long term, I'm sure there are going to be some negative consequences to Will Smith's career. But right now, he's raking it in royalties because they're showing everything.
Yeah. Well, right now I read that Netflix is thinking, Netflix and Sony are thinking about pulling the next project from him. So
yeah, both of those have been put on pause. But and then the other bizarre thing, not that he can make any royalties from this, but from what I gather, one of the most popular tattoos right now to get is the slap. The picture that was on the front page of every paper. People are actually getting that tattooed on their body.
And Chris Rock is selling out everywhere he goes now. So
there you go.
By the way, I just looked at the Elon Musk article, and it talked about the biggest sound system in the world that he says was alien technology. At the bottom, it says April Fool. So he was not arrested.
Well, there you go. You see that? He could even change the date of when it happens. Unbelievable. It's good to have that kind of money. So listen, before we say goodbye to the people on Facebook, YouTube, and all social media, LinkedIn, hello, everybody. Is there anybody in the room that wants to share anything? Because we've been going now for an hour and change. And I think we'll let everybody that's in social media go their own separate ways. But before I do that, I'll just let you know, we start 15 minutes early and we keep going until everybody wants to leave, but we'll say goodbye to the social media group so we could talk privately. And if you want to join us, just DM me from any of the services or send an email to SoundBroker Gmail and I'll send you the link. So anybody want to say anything before we go into our own little groups?
Have you heard from Wayne this week? I was curious what the price of fuel in Australia is doing right now, because it's coming down here in Vegas.
No, I haven't heard from him. He's busy working, evidently. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
He's got a Formula One race this weekend in Melbourne.
Oh, that's right. He's working. I forgot. Yes, he is. He's doing one of the side stages or something. I forgot. He mentioned that.
Yeah, very cool for him. So, Kurt, you have anything you want to say? Steve, you have anything you want to say? You guys have been pretty quiet.
Not really. Nothing new.
It's a nice console in the background. It's not a gamble.
No, it's definitely not a gamble.
Kurt needs to open up a gourmet cooking school and teach people how to cook some of the pictures he puts on Facebook.
Well, if some of these people don't start confirming the shows that they have me holding dates for, I might just do that.
Then you'll be famous. Steve, what's going on with you? Anything you want to say?
I'm working too much for somebody who's supposed to be retired. But I am going to go fishing this weekend.
Right on.
That's a very good thing. All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, social media, LinkedIn, and
Oh, wait.
page.
I almost
What?
forgot to tell everybody. I saw a unicorn yesterday. I walked into a shop here in Vegas and I saw a brand new Yamaha CL5 that had just been delivered.
Well, that is a unicorn. I didn't know the factory was open.
So I immediately said, "Hey, is that for sale?"
Yeah. Well, we.
And what was the response?
The customer had already put half down for it, but now there was a fight between the integrator and the end user about the second half payment and when it was due, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, listen, if they don't sort it out by Friday, I told the guys, like, I'll come pay you retail for it. Because I can move it in less than an hour. I'll have that thing sold.
Yes, that's true.
Did
That
they
is
have an
very,
input
very
rack?
true.
The input racks is the other problem that's coming out.
Hey, one problem at a time, Ken. One problem at a time.
People are buying stuff from me just for the parts now. I mean, I sold an SD21 at top dollar because it had a Dante card in it, and they needed the Dante card.
Yes,
So,
somebody offered to buy my LS9 for just the Dante card.
yeah, so that's what we have. Anyway, with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, social media, LinkedIn, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Remember to share it. This is the 98th. Next week's 99. Week after that's 100. So, come and join us, please, and tell your friends. With that, remember, you make it happen. Make it happen. Have a great week, and we'll see